not legally able to mandate. If I could, I would. But there are certain ways, when you have a couple of bids, there is a price difference for local purchase. So there are ways of doing local as opposed to mandated. There are incentives. However, as part of that law, you are supposed to have a survey as to whether or not the city of New York is purchasing. And just to give you an example, the challenges from the city agencies in 2017, only 59 vendors from across the 5 boroughs, they were sent surveys and only 11 responded. And in 2018, 66 vendors were sent surveys and only 3 responded. So we need many more vendors to respond and to take advantage, and the city to push for local, number one. Number two, with local law 52 saying that the city food system metrics reports how in fact is the money being spent on regional food. And the issue here is it can talk about dairy and fruits and vegetables, but meat and baked goods, for instance, are not part of this law. So they need to be, and we need to figure out if it's not mandated, how can we make sure that they're included? Finally, I just want to say, I'm going to talk about some of the challenges and then I'll try to come up with some ideas, but the challenges have to be addressed. We heard from Lynn, the wonderful in charge of Lenox Hill, but when we went to a meeting with her and some of the other CBOs, community-based organizations, where we were trying to accomplish what she's accomplished, guess what? Many of the senior centers and others do not have a kitchen. They have no scratch kitchen. So how in the world do we accomplish what she's doing? Second, with all due respect, there are several large companies that do a lot of the distribution. And with all due respect, they and the chefs, not every chef is a Bill Televan, they want to stick with the company they have. I have to say at DOE, that's a problem. When I meet with the wonderful people who are running food services at DOE, you do get a pushback, even from the most progressive senior center chefs. Why do I have to change? I know this person for 20 years. They're afraid to change to try something new. 3, it's with the Department for the Aging as an example. We have had some major challenges getting the city, maybe even the feds, to approve of local substitutions. Menus submitted months in advance. Okay, so what happens? I've heard this with my own ears from a wonderful chef at a progressive senior center. Gail, what happens if the lettuce isn't here? Then for God's sake, you can go elsewhere, but you have to try New York State first. And I have had this conversation 100 different times. Again, maybe not with the private sector, but with the public sector. And the same thing with DOE. What happens if the strawberry or the lettuce or the apple or whatever, because they're all locally sourced, what happens if there is a frost and they don't show up? Well, then you can go to California, but for God's sake, New York State first. Constantly in the discussion. And I know the Green Market Code helps to try to answer these, but these are the issues that I come up with. So I think in terms of education, we talk about the public. That's a big challenge. I try to do that all the time. But just the community-based organizations and the companies, they need education, that it is possible to purchase locally and then figure out something if that local is not available. I will mention that tomorrow, the Department of Citywide Administrative Services is having a food expo at 1 Center Street, which is right near City Hall, in the mezzanine at 10 o'clock all day, with companies and city agencies talking about what we are talking about. So I have to say congratulations to DCAS, and to say that is one possibility. DOE is trying. That is 1.1 million students. That is a group of individuals whom we want to feed, and as Bill said, local carrot, local broccoli, whole lot better, and as many have told me, the bumpity bump, lettuce from California is bumpity bump, but if you come from the Catskills, you're there, and the shelf life is longer. How the hell does DOE not understand that? I don't know. I've said it 1,000 times. You're right, Thursdays is supposed to be, but we don't really know how much is New York State it is supposed to be. And in some cases, is it all New York State? Not all New York State, and we keep going back and forth on all of that. I don't want to say a lot more, except even things like summer meals, which I discussed earlier, that could be locally sourced also, but it is not. And I don't want to pick on just DOE, because we've got all of the folks at correction, daycare, senior centers. The list is very, very long as to what New York could be doing. So I just want to say, in terms of what you suggest, getting the work done, I think we have to, I hate to say accomplish, overcome some of these small barriers. Maybe the bigger ones are harder, but it does seem to me that we should be able to overcome some of these issues, which include the kitchen problem and include the education problem. With all due respect to you, distributor, there are other people. Finally, Commissioner, thank you for staying the whole time. Most commissioners don't do that.
Thank you, Gail. Sarah, you know, this city and what's gone on here in the capacity of a community of 9 million people is strong and powerful. But at a state level, there's a certain opportunity to both include New York City and beyond. You're working with procurement, you're working on the encouragement of policies and programs that do focus on local food first, IDing the sources, providing cost incentives, whether it's reimbursement. But there's also challenges to this process, technical experience and expertise that's needed, different types of standardization. Can you explain some of the programs that the state is doing to incentivize the challenges, and then some of the things that you think could overcome those challenges?
Sure. So I work for the Department of Ag and Markets, the State Department of Ag and Markets, and definitely we have a similar measure that we introduced in 2013